Hello, my name is Carrick Chavaria. My presentation will be focusing on Sapia da Salvani and the role that she plays throughout Canto 13 and exploring one commentator's observance of her behavior that leads to what I believe an analytical understanding of liturgy and participation. We find Dante and Virgil in the second terrace of Purgatorio, and we see that Sapia really begins her appearance in the congregation of sinners who are penitent as they cry out to the saints in the litany of the saints. What happens here is that in the narrative, we go from a general group that then moves on to a more particular set of individuals who then appear to Dante, and it's really an emergence of the congregation of penitent sinners versus the one who rises out as an example for didactic purposes, and this one is Sapia. So what happens here is that Sapia really rises up from the congregation to demonstrate the point even further. And so we learn that Sapia is a Sienese noblewoman, and one of the most critical descriptions that's given to her in the time that Dante is hearing out the response of the sinners is that she's described as un'ombra que aspettava, a shade that was expectant, almost waiting. And so that's interesting because it almost seems that she's dying to present something, or she's trying to demonstrate the truth. And the idea here is that she's presenting the true identity, which is the divine identity and not the one of the past self, which is ironic because she also points to her sin. She shows that she was one who celebrated the downfall of her fellow citizens, whether they've harmed her or not. And so there's a balance that's being done here of having your sin, acknowledging it, while also rejecting it at the same time. And this is used through the past tense. She describes herself in the past tense to show that she no longer belongs to the earthly identity, but at the same time she uses the past tense and verbs to describe the facts that happened, and it's almost emanating Pauline language. Finally, we find a couple of important literary devices that are found. First, we find a pun with Sapia's name. We know that it stems from sapientia in the Latin, which is wisdom, and it's being used through juxtaposition to demonstrate the wisdom of repenting of your sin and confessing and seeking God, and the foolishness of hiding your sin and celebrating the downfall of your citizens. We also see that there's a simile of the blackbird, which is used to demonstrate the foolishness of her premature celebration of the downfall of her nation. And finally, we also see that there is the demonstration of memory and how it affects the sinner in reducing their time. And thanks to Peter, we know that she escapes the antipurgatory. William Stephanie notes, finally, that there is a motif of speaking, then a reading. The speaking is the introduction to Dante, or inversely, Dante reaching out to the sinners and giving them a petition, while at the same time, the reading is Sapia giving a retelling of her life. And ironically enough, the sinners together giving their confession to God. So they hear from the scripture in a sense, and by grace through faith, and then they find themselves retelling or speaking.